Hello everyone, my name is Kim Cordova and I'm president of the Utah State Bar, and joining me today is Elizabeth Wright, the Executive Director for the Utah State Bar. Welcome to 2026. Hope you all had a wonderful holiday season. And as we move into January, the legislative session starts on January 20th. And we just wanted to chat with you a little bit about maybe things that are going on and how to stay informed and how to stay involved. On the website for the Utah Legislature, I think it's le.utah.gov. And on there is a list of all of the bills that are being introduced by all of the legislators, plus a calendar of the committee hearings where those bills will go through. There's 2 readings of the bills before they get through the votes on the Senate floor and the House floor, depending on where they start. And so we want to have you all stay informed and be involved. Most of the laws that are going to happen or going to get passed this session, or nearly all of them, are going to affect you in some way, whether it's through funding, whether it's through schools, whether it's through how your roads are paid for, or the parks are being kept clean, or how they're being introduced, or how the courts are funded and how the schools are funded. All of that is going to happen through the session. The legislature not only creates and makes all of the bills, but they also do all of the appropriations of all the state tax dollars and funding. And so all of those things are open to the public. And how you can be involved is you can either call your legislators. You have a House legislature and you have a Senate representative, and you can call them, or you can call and make contact with the bill sponsors. And again, there'll be a Senate bill sponsor and a House bill sponsor. And then there'll be the committee hearings where they'll go through the 2 houses as well. You can come and testify and be a part of that, whether you support or you're in opposition of those bills. But the main thing that we want to get across is the engagement of staying involved and being educated about the bills that are coming through. And as for us lawyers, there are going to be some bills, as there are every year, that it impacts the courts, and it also impacts access to justice and impacts different areas of practice, whether it's landlord-tenant, whether it's divorces, whether it's trust and estates, whether it's criminal. Regardless of the area of practice that you are in, laws will come through that will impact your area of practice, whether it's intentional or whether it's unintended. And so we're going to chat a little bit today about the bar's involvement in that and what we can and cannot do. And so Elizabeth, can you talk to us a little bit about what the bar's stance is on the legislative process?
Yes, so we are called the mandatory bar, and as a mandatory bar, we are limited on the positions we can officially take on the Hill for or against a piece of legislation. We are allowed to take positions on legislation that affects the regulation of the practice of law, or the administration of the courts and access to the courts. So those, thankfully, are usually very rare instances, and we will get involved and take a position and lobby the sponsors for or against the legislation. We always stand for additional resources for the court and to make sure that, or adequate funding for the courts so that they have the resources they need to function, and that you as lawyers can get your cases heard and serve your clients there. We do offer we have something called the Governmental Relations Committee, and that is made up of lawyers from every practice section. And they meet every Tuesday during the legislative session, and all the bills that affect a practice area or the section practice area are distributed to that section through their representative, so that the lawyers in that section can be aware of what is coming that's going to directly affect their practice area. And we encourage members of the section to be aware of it and to reach out on their own as lawyers and citizens to speak to legislators about the possible impacts and the pros and cons of that legislation. As I said, the bar usually won't take official positions on those, but we want to make sure that lawyers are aware of what legislation is coming down the pipe that they should be aware of.
And how do we keep track of those bills, and how do we keep track of all of the things or many of the issues that are coming up during the session?
We have 2 lobbyists, and our lobbyists send them to our sections, and then the committee sorts them. I mean, our lobbyist sends all the bills, keeps track of them. They actually have software that keeps track of them and gets them to us. So, because, as we all know, lately they've just had a tremendous amount of bills, and it's a lot to keep track of. And they have software that will sort it by area, and we'll try to get it to the sections, and that's how we keep track of what's going on up there.
And so do you feel like there are any access to justice issues, or what do you feel comes under access to justice, which is really one of the basic tenets of the Utah State Bar and the practice of law? And so where do you see there's challenges or positives in terms of access to justice in the legislative process?
Well, certainly funding for the courts, for like IT resources they need for the self-help center, or the court forms. There's always more that can be done at the court level to help pro se litigants. So adequate funding for the court administration is something that we are always in favor of. Also, the federal funding for a lot of the legal service providers has been cut dramatically this year, and I know our legal aid and Utah Legal Services and other legal service providers will be asking the legislature for funding to close that gap. We will definitely support that. I don't, to be honest, I don't know if that's forthcoming, but it's certainly a need that has arisen, and the dollars that are spent on legal aid really do benefit the state and the economy. If we can make sure people have protective orders, so there's not a terrible criminal or incident, make sure people stay in their housing, make sure people get the benefits they're entitled to, really in the long run saves Utah taxpayers a lot of money. So those are the access to justice issues, like I said, funding for the courts and for the legal service providers, for the pro se litigants. And then I think generally for lawyers, you said access to justice, but I think for lawyers, we all want our clients to be able to effectively and efficiently have their cases resolved. And so the courts have administrative needs for judicial assistance and training and other guardian ad litems and other court personnel and court services that are going to help their cases move efficiently and help the citizens of Utah have their disputes resolved. And we will always stand for adequate funding for those aspects of the court and their court services.
Because if we do look at the numbers, the majority of citizens, people in our community who go to court or who have touches with the justice system are usually on the district court level.
Right. Yes.
And when we look at indigenous populations, people who are under the poverty level, who cannot afford counsel, whether it's landlord-tenant, whether it's criminal, whether it's getting protective orders or in family law situations, like you said, it closes the gap in terms of services so that it's not a huge imposition on the court.
Right. Yes. Makes it work better for everybody, the pro se litigants and, low income litigants, and then, all the way up. If the courts are operating effectively, businesses can also get their cases through the system more quickly and efficiently.
And then another tenet that I think is really important to the bar and to lawyers is really just like the functions of the criminal justice system or the justice system, civil and criminal, in terms of the ability to have lawyers be good lawyers, right? And to have lawyers have the resources and the abilities to do their very best and be held accountable to their clients and to our courts and to our communities. And so how else does the bar support and reinforce, and strengthen the practice of law?
In a lot of ways. We offer a tremendous amount of practice support, continuing legal education, training for lawyers, very specific practice management resources, like how to do trust accounting and, make sure you're accounting for your clients' money appropriately. We have the Office of Professional Conduct that disciplines lawyers who mess up and violate the rules. We have fee arbitration, so clients and lawyers can have free mediation to resolve any disputes over the fee. We have mental health counseling for lawyers. All Utah lawyers are entitled to free mental health services because there's a lot of data out there showing that lawyers do have it's a very stressful job being a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And the way to, one of the ways to thrive in it is to make sure that you're mentally healthy, because mentally healthy lawyers are good lawyers and will serve their clients and not have any of the fallout from having serious mental stress, depression, anxiety, substance abuse. So we offer a lot of services, a lot of free mental health, like therapy sessions straight up, and also CLEs and training for lawyers so that they can be aware of the signs and address them early so that they are mentally fit to get in there and serve their clients.
And can you tell us a little bit about how or where we get like these directives? And when I use the terms like these are the basic functions of the bar, or these are our tenets or our principles, where do we get those?
Yeah, so in the court rules, particularly Court Rule 14102 is the rule where the court says to the bar, you will administer these things. The court has the ultimate authority in our Constitution to regulate the practice of law, and then they have delegated to the bar the administration of that. The bar doesn't directly regulate. We can't change rules without the court. We can't disbar anybody. The court does that. But we do all the administration, and there are 10 directives that the court has given us that involves, and one of them is to support lawyers in their practice and make sure they're competent and ethical. So all the programming we have around competence and ethics and mental health is a directive from the court to the bar to make sure that lawyers can be good officers of the court and represent their clients appropriately, and that the public is protected, can make sure, that the lawyer who's representing them is competent and healthy.
And so under the three branches of government, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislative, we fall squarely under the judiciary, the judicial branch of government.
Yes, the court sets our lawyer licensing fees. They set all the rules for admissions, for discipline. They tell us what to do. They review our budget every year and watch how we're spending the money. And they have oversight. We are part of the judiciary. And that's very important, because occasionally people will ask, I'm this profession. I license through DOPL. Why don't lawyers license through DOPL or some other entity? And it's because it's a separation of powers principle, right? The court regulates lawyers as the officers of the court who appear before them, and it would be troubling under our Constitution if another branch of government could say how lawyers are regulated or what resources would be available to them. So you can imagine there could maybe be some mischief about what's worthy of discipline or who should get disciplined. That all very intentionally comes under the Supreme Court regulating the practice of law.
And that's actually really pointed out and created in our state constitution.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when we talk about that, the regulation of lawyers and all of our fees and all of directives and everything that we do is in direct correlation to the directives given to us and mandated to us by the Supreme Court.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And so when we, as a separate branch of the government, interact with the legislature, as you mentioned earlier, we do have very specific rules and regulations and procedures that we follow to make sure that we are acting constitutionally.
Right.
right? And I believe the case that we go under or that we abide by is a United States Supreme Court case, State versus Keller.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And so as we take positions, or if we take positions, we really do, as we call it, a pure Keller analysis to make sure that we are acting appropriately and constitutionally.
Right, yes. Every position we take on legislation is reviewed by the Governmental Relations Committee and then the Board of Bar Commissioners.
And so,
yeah.
So there's lots of eyes on it.
Yes.
Right? There's
yes.
like a checks and balances to make sure. And if there are any concerns, or if somebody does have a concern about maybe what the bar is doing, or if we should or shouldn't take a position or make a statement on things, how would a person address those concerns?
Well, they could certainly call any of the bar commissioners, or their bar commissioner that represents their division. I'm certainly happy to talk to anybody. They can email me or call me if they want some background on the on our process, like we just talked about, or if they want more information about Keller. I'm happy to talk to them and explain the system and our reasonings and the vote, and why we take those positions.
And all of that information is on the Utah State Bar's website?
Yes,
right?
yes, there's a page devoted to our legislative activity.
Right. And so how do lawyers or the public know kind of what the bar is doing? How do we get that information to our communities?
Well, during the legislative session, if the bar takes a position, we will usually send an email to all of the lawyers saying, call your legislator, this is coming, we're in favor of this, or we're against this, we think this is not going to help access to justice or the regulation of lawyers, and we will send out an all call by email. But we also list it on the website. You can go to our legislative activity. We list every bill that we take a position on. And also we usually send it out through social media and in the e-bulletin. There are lots of places where we spread the word about positions that we take. Primarily, if anybody's interested, they can go to the website and see what legislation we've taken a position on.
Okay, and so all the information is out there. It's very transparent and
yes.
very forthcoming about the positions that we take or don't take, and kind of the goings on and activities of the bar and the Bar Commission.
Right, and they can also, the Governmental Relations Committee is made up of the section's chair. Each section has an appointee. Also, anybody is welcome to come to the meeting. It's by Zoom. We'll send you the Zoom link, and you can listen in and hear the deliberations that take place.
Okay.
So
that's so great. Because
Yep.
again, what we want is well-informed, involved, participants in this entire process, right? I think that the more people that we have involved, the more voices that we have, the more input, the more feedback, I think that the stronger that the bar can be and the stronger our communities can be.
Yep. Yes, I agree.
And so mostly what we want is, our ask is just to stay involved, stay educated. The Utah State Bar does everything that we can to filter through the information or gather the information to give to you in a meaningful and condensed way. But if you don't want that, then you can go to the Utah Legislature's website and get all of the information yourself. Again, the more that we can be educated and stay involved, the more productive we can be, and really make sure that the laws that are being passed can limit maybe the unintended or unintentional consequences, and that they are meaningful and they push forward, the areas and where they need to be effective. And so again, January 20th starts the 2026 legislative session. le.utah.gov has all the information about that, but also come to our website at the Utah State Bar. We'll give you tons of information. We'll give you contact information, and all of us are more than happy to welcome your ideas and your participation. Until next time.